Welcome back everyone, this is Osoroshii Saturday, I'm your host Unrested, and today we're going to be exploring a spectrum of fear we know as the Uncanny Valley. Now those of you who don't know what the Uncanny Valley is, it is the spectrum of fear in which normalcy becomes slightly distorted and makes us feel not necessarily utterly and completely frightened, but uncomfortable. It's that eerie, creepy, subtle feeling that just makes us feel a bit uneasy, and it could be, for example, a human mask that has an overly large smile, or perhaps overly large eye holes. But it's not concentrated solely on the form of the human body. It can also be something we find in a happening or a situation. And those are the things that we'll be exploring tonight in Osoroshii Saturday. Come join me. Recently here in Japan, we just celebrated the End of War Day. The End of War Day pretty much takes into account the fact that Japan had been defeated by America, but at least they could put down their weapons and be at peace finally. It wasn't a good day for Japan. It was actually quite a day of defeat and misery, but it did end the war, and they still celebrate that to this day, that the war ended. My mother-in-law was actually talking to me on this day because we were at a temple celebrating and praying for the dead. And she's told me two different stories, and these stories involve the supernatural and those who were imprisoned during World War II, because she was actually a young child during this time. She's in her late 70s now, and she was about maybe 4 or 5 during the war. And she told me of two accounts of people talking about supernatural encounters that they had while they were imprisoned in camps while being POWs during World War II. One was imprisoned in America and another in Russia. Now, of course, both places had people die, whether it be from PSTD or, in the case of Russia, just the fact that the conditions were so bad that many starved to death. In America, the guy who had been imprisoned said his treatment was actually quite good considering the fact that he was a POW, and that if anyone did die, and their spirit did come back to haunt the encampment that they were at, they were for the most part upbeat and not really a malevolent ghost or anything that would be out to cause malice to those of the living world. Now, for the man who was from Russia and had been imprisoned there as a POW, he spoke of many horrors that he encountered. For example, the fact that there was no food for them to eat while they were imprisoned. A lot of them went through a torturous process in which they would try to get guards to beat them. After they had been beaten, they would let those sores get exposed to the flies and different animals and wasps and bugs that were in the camp, because the different bugs that surrounded their open flesh wounds would lay larvae inside, and that larvae would hatch, and they could eat the worms out of their own wounds in order to get protein to survive. He said any ghost that he encountered who had died during this process in order to stay alive, because it was kind of a process that puts you on the fence of life and death, they constantly repeated mushi, 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 mushi over and over and over. And if you don't know what mushi means, it just means bugs in Japanese. Not a pleasant story. Okay, our next segment comes from a website that deals with dreams and dreams interpretation. It's called Yume no Translating, so which means like dream translation. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just read this person's dream that they posted on here because it was a really creepy dream that they wanted help with. It has a lot of Japanese references, and many times the English is very bad because it really couldn't translate very well, and I didn't really have time to make the grammar perfect, so if I mess up or I have to suddenly stop to reference something in Japanese, so be it. Let's begin. This is called The Never-Ending Dream. I often have lucid dreams, and I am used to having strange dreams, but last night's dream was nothing like the ones I've ever had before. I was alone, walking down a narrow path in the woods. Immediately I knew I was dreaming. The color green was too vivid, and the unnatural way the soles of my shoes scraped against the ground was a familiar sign of being in a lucid dream. Normally, when I realize I'm in a lucid dream, I soon try to wake up and then go back to sleep again. Afterwards, I try to go ahead and collect my thoughts, but that time, somehow, I didn't feel like waking up, so I kept walking down the path in the forest. A house appeared in front of me. It was crumbling. It was a Japanese-style wooden house, very old indeed. It must have stood there for maybe over a century, but from the size of it, it could have been a storage building or a residential quarter, I couldn't tell. I uttered in spite of myself, "I don't recognize this house." It was the first time an unfamiliar place had ever appeared in my lucid dream. It was dark inside the house, but because of the light that was coming from the wooden door I had left open, it was not completely dark. A dusty wardrobe, a large mirror, and spiderwebs that covered everything were left lying around. Some detached wooden planks, a small wooden box, and somehow spinning tops were scattered all over the floor. It was in complete ruin. Wait a minute. Why am I in this place? Why am I walking further into a darker area of the house? In a lucid dream, where I'm able to understand that I'm awake, in my dream, I have control over everything. Why am I continuing to walk? I peered behind a panel screen that stood in front of me. I think I knew what was behind it. That is why I wasn't very surprised when I saw it. On a purple kimono spread out, long, sleek, black hair lay. It was connected to the body of a girl, lying face down, immobile, with her arms and legs sprawling. She appeared to be a corpse. I don't know what it made me do, but before I knew it, I was holding her body in my arms and turning it over. The girl was younger than I had expected. She was probably still around 12 or 13 years old. Her face was pale, and I didn't know whether she was alive or dead. She was extremely thin, too. And yes, now I remember, her kimono was soaking wet. Suddenly, my mobile phone went off. It seemed too timely, and at the same time out of place, hearing the sound of the mobile. It shocked me. A new mail flashed in the inbox. Akemi, it said. Akemi? What is Akemi? Even in Japanese, there's no connection to Akemi. There's no kanji given here, and even the writer themselves had no relation to the word Akemi, so we really don't ever know what it means in this story. Just listen on. Only one word in the mail. Akemi. Somehow I thought this must be the girl's name, maybe? But just then another mail arrived. Tsukisi. What on earth is this? I don't really understand. Oh my god! Arms frantically shook me. The girl had suddenly lurched up and thrust her arms towards me. Her eyes were wide open. Her eyes looked dull. No, actually they were rotten. No, why didn't I notice it before? The whole girl's body was rotten from the very start. She could not possibly be alive. She opened her mouth. A decaying jaw dropped open beyond its limit, tearing the flesh in its process. The mouth that was ready to devour me could say only one thing. I awake screaming. Back to reality. I am in my room. I open my eyes and look around. That was just a dream. Just a dream. I try to get my breath back. I've got to think straight. It meant nothing. It was just an irregular, lucid dream. I'll get up now. I'll go to the kitchen. I'll drink some water. I'm walking down a narrow path in the woods. Why? I've woken up. I'm sure I just opened my eyes right now. But unmistakably, I had strayed into the same dream again. What the hell is happening? This isn't a lucid dream. Obviously something's different, something more terrible. I walked deeper into the woods again. I stepped inside the derelict house again. I peered behind the panel screen. The purple girl was lying there. I lifted her in my arms, as if everything had been scripted from the start. I carried out these motions automatically. I felt nothing inside, and again, as if, according to the script, my mobile phone went off. It was the same as before. Akemi. Tsukishi. The girl leapt up. I knocked her arms down and turned quickly. I fled out of the house. Get away, I have to get away from this monster, this dream. She didn't start running after me yet. If I could get out of this house, I'd be saved. My legs nearly gave way, but I forced myself to speed up. I heard something running from behind the house. Don't worry, I can do it. I can escape. Just 3 more steps, just 2 more, just 1. I did it. I never looked back. As I got out of the house, at the same time, I felt myself waking up. Escaped completely. I'm back to reality. Gasping in fear, I opened my eyes, and I realized, again I was standing there, in front of the derelict house. My blood froze in an instant. How many times do I have to repeat this? When is this dream going to end? I'm going insane from fear. Somebody please wake me up, let me out of this dream. My body started to move on its own accord again. I went inside the house. No, don't go inside the house. Don't go near the woman. Don't touch the girl. Escape now. Shit, fuck, I have to get out of here. Check your mail. Akemi. Fuck. Tsukisi. Fuck. I struck down the rotten arms in front of me. At the last, my body became free to move at my own will. I turned around and started running. I could feel her close my heels. She was much faster than before. Shit, I ran out of the house, but she didn't feel myself waking up. Does this mean it won't let me escape this time? My legs, like, they would give out at any minute, like jelly, like shit, fuck, get away, run. I could feel her presence right behind me. I shivered. Just then I felt my heart stop. As I run, I looked behind, and there was a large lacerated mouth dripping with decaying juice. It was all I could say. I shrieked. This time, I was awake completely. I sat up in my bed. I'm not going back to sleep. No frickin' way. My heart was beating hard. My whole body was drenched in sweat. That wasn't a dream. Something way more terrible. If I hadn't managed to escape, what would have happened to me? It was too scary to meditate on. I fumbled for my mobile phone. I mustn't fall asleep. I can call my girlfriend, and I can talk to her throughout the night. I've got to stay awake until the morning. At that very moment, my mobile phone rang. It received a mail. No, it can't be. Akemi, it said. You've got to be kidding me. This isn't happening. Tsukishi, it said. I screamed. The world started darkening and I couldn't stop it. My hand rested on the panel screen. I was about to see what was behind it again. I'm finished, beyond danger, beyond despair. I knew I would not be able to escape this time. I lifted the girl up in my arms. The mobile phone rang and 2 messages came again. Akemi, Tsukishi. What's this? There was a third mail. The third message had not been sent the first time. It consisted of only 1 Chinese character. A kanji. Mukuro. Mukuro. Dead body. The girl lunged at me. Because I was looking at the third mail, I reacted a second too late. It was a fatal mistake and I knew it. Those hands which previously had been able to fend off now firmly gripped me. The girl's rotting right hand was squeezing my left hand. The girl smiled, her decomposing mouth spreading widely, and slowly the mouth began to split at both ends. The mouth opened wide. She was ready to ravage my neck with her teeth. But at that very moment, I suddenly regained my composure. I looked at her hand gripping my arm. Yes, she was gripping it. I knew this feel. In the real world, I had experienced this kind of feeling a million times. It was a form that I had practiced so many times. I can do this. I breathed deeply through my tanden. My body merged with nature. Fear vanished away. I struck the monster's neck with a karate chop. Taking control of her left hand, side body, I tossed her onto the floor. Katate dori kokyu nage. This is an Aikido move, in which you throw your attacker to the ground. You can look it up online and see exactly what the move is. Be it monster or whatever it may be, my opponent was now relying on my strength to fight it. I am an Aikido user and I will not be defeated. The girl had fallen into a pile of rubbish near the wall. I immediately regained my posture and took a fighting stance. Then I called out, still unmoving. The monster came forward. Bring it, I said. I opened my eyes. It was not an awakening that accompanied my horrible feeling, like before. It was a new type of awakening, an everyday type of an awakening. I never felt worse in my life, but I knew that my nightmare was finally over. I don't know which part of it was a dream or which part of it was reality. The meaning of Akemi, Tsukishi, Mukuro, they still remain a mystery to me. I googled Akemi and Tsukishi, but I found no relevant information. The cause of this whole thing is unknown. I happened to visit a famous Hannes place yesterday, but I think that has nothing to do with it. Sorry, this doesn't make much sense. And moreover, the ending is very weird. But I was scared out of my wits. And I'm glad, very, very glad, I practice Aikido. Well, I don't usually give out a lot of sources, though I do like to give at least some kind of hint as to what kind of website my stories come from. Unfortunately, this one has no website, no author, nothing listed behind it. It's just called Please Tell Me the Way. I'll just read it verbatim. It's a short but very haunting story. Please tell me the way. It was early in the evening. I was stopped by a tall woman on the street. Her legs were abnormally thin, and they were shaking as if they were struggling to hold up the body. Her arms were also stick-thin, and a crimson-red handbag hung from her shoulder. She kept wheezing, as if she were either having serious difficulty breathing or sighing repeatedly. I was sure it was me whom she had just spoken to, but her eyes were directed away from my face and looking elsewhere. Where are you going? She didn't look normal. I thought, I'd better deal with this quickly and leave. Kasuga Town, 1-19-4-201. It was my apartment address. She said everything perfectly, down to the room number. I don't know where that is. I decided I didn't want to have anything to do with her. Then the woman doubled over and bowed deeply, so that her thin waist was making a cracking noise, as if she were about to break in half. She staggered to the end of the street and disappeared around a corner. That was freaky. I made my way home and made sure to make a detour on the way to my apartment. I cautiously checked the front door, and I breathed a sigh of relief seeing that it was securely locked. I opened the dark apartment, and from deep inside, I heard a small voice. Please tell me the way. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts, and that is Ghosts on Camera, where we go ahead and choose a selection of things that have shown ghosts either being captured on camera, stories people have told about seeing ghosts while videotaping, or actual closed caption footage of ghosts within possibly places of employment, schools, etc., etc. I'm going to start this first one out without a voiceover. I'm going to just start it out with me talking and letting you know a little bit of information first, because it's a little bit confusing if you don't know anything about hauntings in Japan. When a place is haunted in Japan, usually what people do is they go out and they'll buy talismans. They don't do an exorcist like you would see in the Western world. They buy a talisman, which is kind of like a stamp or a seal. You'd look like something like this or like this, and they would put them over the area or door or connection to hallway or room in which they believe the ghost haunts or is haunting. Once these seals are put up, it's supposed to either close the ghost in there, or seal the ghost in there, or possibly protect the room if you need to use it in your house to possibly move around. This first place deals with a house that is so haunted, and this is a documentary type film, very, very true. It's so haunted, these things are everywhere. Like, for example, you know, we have a couple of these around. I've got just like one or two around, and we're not using these. These are just like, if we needed to maybe protect our house from something. I'm not really running into a lot of problems recently, so I'm okay. But this is for if we needed to protect our house. You know, we'd put like 1 or 2 around at most. Like that would be already kind of a lot. Wait until you see this house. There are tons of them around this house. It's to a point of you might possibly think the person is mentally disturbed, but once you watch the video, you'll realize that possibly this guy's house really is haunted. Now, the 2 people you'll see that'll come and help him in this video are supernatural experts. I guess your Japanese equivalent to like ghost hunters. But these guys don't come in there to film everything and use all kinds of different electronic equipment and tell stories of what they think they see. They come in there to eliminate the ghosts. They're more like exorcists really than ghost hunters. And what they do is very serious. It's believed, it's practice. You're going to see a lady who's getting hit on the back here by one of the exorcists. He's not trying to mortally injure her or attack her or anything weird. Many Japanese believe that ghosts, if they're haunting a place or a person, wrap themselves around the neck. If you've ever seen the movie Shudder, where he keeps taking the picture and eventually sees that a ghost is wrapping herself around his head and his neck, that's what many Japanese believe. They feel a heaviness on their back or their shoulders are constantly tired. They're possibly being haunted. He is slapping her back in order to eliminate the ghosts. This is a natural ceremony. It's not anything crazy or any kind of abuse. So let's just watch together. I will narrate from here. We start first with the house that has the talismans covering many, many walls. You're going to see the amount in this house is over the top. This is really not common in Japan. You would never put this many talismans throughout a house to protect it from ghosts. The owner and the house from the outside are blurred out due to the fact that they don't want anybody to find out who the owner is or the location of the house, due to the fact that they'd worry people would either harass or visit the area. If you take a look, there's one shot here where there's just a huge row of talismans. It's coming up here in just a second there. Take a look. That's insane. You would never have that many talismans in your house. Now here is the recorded video of the ghost moving through the hallway, and then later, when the man is sleeping in the bed in his own house, this is the owner sleeping in his own bed, he actually has a form of some sort of being come on top of him and weigh him down in the middle of his sleep before he had actually been complaining of not being able to sleep due to feel a giant weight upon his body when he would try to rest in his own bed. And unfortunately, this is what he's experiencing. You're going to take a look and see how it doesn't make sense. The form of his body in this bed does not look like only one person, yet he is sleeping alone in a tiny futon. So what this giant lump is doesn't make any sense. Now for the next part, I'm going to be quiet. And what this is the actual ritual of slapping the ghost off the back. Next we move on to an elevator camera. This elevator camera picked up a small baby ghost and some sort of lady ghost. First, watch this old lady get onto the elevator and watch next to her legs, down at the very bottom if you can. I know it's slightly cut off, but watch closely. And see as a small baby ghost moves past her. Or a small child ghost. I don't know quite how to explain it. Next, as we continue to watch, you'll see a very well-seen ghost move right in front of the camera lens here. You'll see the top of her head, and she seems to peer into the camera as if she knows she's being watched at some point. Next, we're going to move on to a kind of creepypasta. This is a Skype call that went horribly wrong. Distortion, person disappears, and apparently something about her being dragged across the floor by an entity in the room. This person, they couldn't find her after this video had happened, and this video, the person who had the video and recorded it and sent it to the police, was later 3 days never found after that. So super creepy. Next we have a person recording in their own library at their school. And this library at the school apparently was haunted, and they catch a ghost in the window behind this guy here. You'll be able to see it when it moves its face into the window. And it's been recorded on time-lapse footage so that it's easier to notice that it's moving in the background. If you look right above his head, you start to see a figure moving around and the shadows changing. And that is apparently the capturing of a ghost. Now take a look closer. We're going to replay it and zoom in. What it says about 10 times, I think, 16 times it's going to zoom in so that we can see it close. What's going on there? This is a bowling alley, and this is a bit of a strange one. I thought this was a bit funny at first, and then I caught the image right where the bowling balls come out. Take a look at there. I thought this was a goofy one, but if you keep looking close, you'll see this face come out of there instead of a bowling ball. Alright, take a look closely here. They're going to show it up close, and you'll be able to see this face very clearly right here where the bowling balls come out. And there it is. It's like a small child's face. You can make out an eye socket, and that's about it. Here is a camera recording inside of an office late at night. Japanese people tend to work 12 plus hours, so this is not uncommon to be at an office by yourself working very late into the night. Unfortunate for this woman, although it was caught on video, she was attacked by some sort of entity at this office late at night, and you can see she was dragged across the floor. Now this obviously could be totally fake. I don't have any proof that this is real, but they did a damn good job, whoever made that. That's pretty creepy. I don't know quite how they got her to get dragged across the floor. I mean, I guess people could say they like digitally edited out wires. This next video, for me personally, was the creepiest of the lot. This guy's working in a conveni. They have a place where they can put their stuff into a locker when they come to work at the conveni. They put it back there, but the lockers are watched the whole time because that's where you put your valuables. So if anybody is taking anything, they would find it. The lockers continuously opened, they found out. Later they would come and check them, and they would be open in different parts of it. Nothing would be stolen, but they would be open, and they thought that was not a good thing due to the fact that, like I said, valuables could be stolen. So they put a camera on the lockers, and this is where a creepy face emerged. And again, I don't have any proof that this is real. I don't have any proof that the creepy face is a real ghost, but this face creeps me out. It's just the way it moves, very slowly, taking its head out and then slightly turning towards us, the camera viewer. And its movement's very jittery, very jumpy. Creepy, creepy picture. Well guys, what did you think of tonight's stories? I'm always really interested to know what the fans of this site and this show think about the stories that I show here, the videos I show here. A lot of people are always busy asking me for source material and where do I get it from. That's not so important to me as what do you personally believe? What are your theories behind this? If I just give you a bunch of sources and let you dissect it so easily, you may already find out maybe some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's totally fake, whatever. I want you to come up with your own theories. I want you to dissect this video personally. What are your own paranormal stories? What are your own scary thoughts on what might have actually happened? That's what's interesting to me. I want to interact more with you guys on what your thoughts are on these videos. Because of course I have my own theories, but you may have one that blows my mind. I'm totally open to that idea. And that is the best part about doing these stories, that it lets me open up a new pathway to Japanese culture, tradition, and history. Maybe not one they want to share so regularly as other aspects, but nonetheless it opens up a new path. Speaking of which, also, if you yourself have journeyed down the supernatural path in Japan, or have a story that is creepy, or a friend in Japan or has visited Japan that is creepy, I ask you, please share it with us here at Unrested JFAC. You can put it here on the YouTube site or on the Facebook site. Share it with us and maybe you too will be on Osoroshii Saturday Until next time, I'm Unrested.